So for this demo, what I want to show is how to fix wrinkles and bubbles, stuff that comes up. And I'm going to show two different types of film. This one is a calendar film that doesn't have air egress or repositionability, and there's different ways to approach this because it's not as easy to pop bubbles and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is just take the backing paper off, and I'm just going to stick it on the hood, and I'm just going to kind of squeegee willy-nilly and kind of trap air, and I'm going to make some pretty stiff wrinkles and try to just show you different ways of different scenarios and what you have to do. Okay, so for this particular section here, for these, okay, because these are bubbles essentially, okay, bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. This here is wrinkle, okay. This is a pretty crazy wrinkle as well, okay. And so you just got to read it and react differently for each one. So for these type of bubbles here, what you want to do is you want to click your knife, and again, I like to use 30-degree blades. If you're using 45-degree blades, what they do have for bubbles and stuff like that, they have special tools that are just little pens, like little really sharp, and you just kind of poke a little hole, because the smaller the hole you make, the better. If it's a wider blade, like a 45-degree blade, it makes too big of a hole, and it splits too much. But this is okay to do, otherwise you want to get one of those pins, poppers. So here what I want to do is, because of this, I have air here, what you want to do is you want to poke a little hole at one end of the bubble, and if you can do it cold, you can then press it out with your finger. So you want to poke a hole and then start from the opposite side and push, okay? What you don't want to do is you don't want to make the bubble smaller, because if I'm doing this now, and I'm continually making the bubble smaller, what I'm doing is I'm raising the angle of the bubble, and if I pop it now and I go to squeegee, I get a wrinkle, okay? So if you make the bubble smaller, in this case here, this is a big one, if I make it smaller, okay, I'm creating too steep of angles on the side, and if I go to pop it and I go to squeegee it, I get wrinkles. I don't give the air time to escape. So you want your bubble to be long and flat. I poke, run my finger, and your back of your fingernail is great for this, where I can just push for that one, okay? Sometimes what you can do with some material on calendar films, I make a little hole. You can take your heat gun, watch, I take my heat gun, heat it up a little bit, you can soften the bubble a little bit, and then watch, if I have it here, if I poke a hole, I can literally see it relax, and then I go back with my poke a hole, relax it with the heat, make it flat. So those are the options for bubbles, okay? If you have wrinkles like this and this for me, I immediately read where no matter what I do, if I go back with the heat and I try to poke it and go back here, because it's so steep, it just gets worse, okay? For me, I immediately see something like this that has a sharp angle on the side here. That tells me that I can't poke a hole and heat it and make it flat. I have to pick it back up, give it a little bit of heat, make the wrinkle go away, and then I squeegee. Same thing here. Where here, I damaged it. These are all little baby wrinkles here. It's not the end of the world, because what I can do is pick the material back up, here, give it a kiss of heat. I'm using the memory factory of the film to relax it, and then I can just squeegee it on the car, okay? So again, that's what you want to do with wrinkles. For the most part, if they're sharp, you pick it back up, heat it out, and put it back down, okay? So that's pretty much for this standard film. For material this material has air egress, and it's a little fragile. This is a brushed metallic film, okay? But again, I'm going to try to create some interesting scenarios with the wrinkles, okay? So what I have here is a bubble, okay? So what's nice about air egress is I just simply take the material and watch. I compress it flat and it disappears. I don't need to pop it. Here, watch. I just run it with my finger and it disappears. Here, it disappears. And that's air egress, okay? And here, this is a good shape too. I'm reading the material. Here it's wide and it gets a little sharper here. So I'm not going to work from the wide to the sharp, because this will become sharper. I'm going to work from the sharp to the flat. I use the back of my fingernail to start it, but then I push it that way and it comes out. Same thing here. This one is a pretty sharp wrinkle, but the angles on the side are mellow enough where I feel like I can take the back of my fingernail and I can press it out. Same thing here. See how it's wider here, sharper here. So I'm going to use the back of my fingernail, start at the sharp side and push to the flat. So same thing here. Or watch, these are bubbles. I can take my finger and push. Take my finger and push. So for me, it's all about, again, this is reading the wrinkles. We go to this section over here, and these are pretty sharp. This is pretty sharp. Would I use a little bit of heat here? See how it gets wide here and it's sharp here? Take the back of my fingernail and push. But see, it still has a bit of a shape here because this is there's a bit of a wrinkle here still because this was just too sharp. So for this, it's still your responsibility to pick the material back up. Here, give it a little bit of heat. Trigger the memory, create glass, and now you squeegee and it goes away. What do I do with this bubble? Is I press it with my finger. Where does the air go when I press a bubble? Okay, if I have air here, for example, okay, with the air egress, the air is just simply being spread out underneath the film. I kind of been jokingly saying in workshops lately that the material goes to the fourth dimension, but the material doesn't go through the material. It spreads out underneath the adhesive. It doesn't go to the fourth dimension. But by here, I'm pressing, look how easily the material comes out because it spreads out underneath the film, and that's okay. Okay, because it spreads out, it evens out, and then the material still sticks. If I go back and I make sure I press hard enough, and then the final bonding temperature stays 60 degrees after 24 hours, the material sticks nice and easy on the car. So you see different options are, with bubbles with air egress, I can just press it with my finger. If I have wrinkles, use the back of your fingernail. If the wrinkles are too sharp, pick it back up, give it a kiss of heat, it goes back flat. But for the most part, you can fix it up. Bubbles, for the most part, if I see a bubble when I'm wrapping, I leave it, I go back and press it. If I see a wrinkle, I immediately read it. If it's too steep or it looks too sharp, I pick the material back up, soften it up. Otherwise, I can get it out with my fingernail. So it's, again, all about reading wrinkles.